Welcome back to episode 79 of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What to do?
All right,
What's up,
man.
Will?
So,
Here we are again.
you missed the roundtable last week.
Yeah. Yep. Had to mow my lawn. As stupid as that sounds.
Yeah.
It's a lot of maintenance, dude. Fucking land.
Yeah, you got real life land to maintain, unlike the digital land where you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, imagine how crappy that would be if for some reason they just did that. It's just
Hey, you know what? That would be the grind mechanic for decentralized. That you have to mow the lawn, right?
yeah, like they could have done a lot of things, and I think there are. I mean, they didn't have to, but like it's not just grass that grows on this land, right? There could be like underground resources that are super valuable hidden throughout Central Land. Like nobody knows.
You can have locusts just like ravage your land.
Yeah, they were pretty much playing like SimCity simulator, basically, like decentralized.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Hey,
I mean that sounds cool as shit.
But you know what? That provides the incentive to be in the world, like taking care of your land. If you build nothing, then you got grass to take care of. If you build a building, then maybe there's like some mechanic where your building degrades. At least like from a virtual standpoint, like you can't visually see it degrade, but like the bar is low.
Yeah,
you know.
Totally.
But anyway, that's like crazy talk. So
yeah, is it? I don't know, dude. I've had many crazy thoughts in my head, dude, ever since getting involved in this metaverse space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we keep talking about, or we're not keep, but we've talked about in the past how like we're like in that 2014 Ethereum phase as far as like NFTs and metaverse projects go. So that made me think like, dude, this is probably not even like the best way to do it. Kind of like how Ethereum doesn't seem to be the best way to do it as far as like operating a blockchain.
For sure.
Like there's probably like unexplored models that have yet to been.
You know what?
Least
Ethereum is probably not the best. There's probably other blockchains that do smart contracts a lot better, a lot more efficiently, with cheaper fees. But the thing is,
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's one. But the thing is, like, some of the best technologies don't end up winning, right? It's about the network effect, and Ethereum's got that.
Yeah, I 100% believe that now. Like, I did it in 2017 because I was like a total noob, and I thought for sure, like, the like superior EOS, tech is good. Yeah, Polychain, EOS, the Cardanos, all these 3.0 scaling solutions, right?
Yeah.
I thought for sure like these are gonna win out. Ethereum's just gonna turn dead because back in 2017, after that CryptoKitties debacle, I was like, dude, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck would want to build on a network that gets congested off of one DApp, like one semi-viral DApp?
Yeah.
Right. And like I would just check out to see it's like full maximum capacity. Any kind of proposed scaling solutions like 5 years in the future. Like, who's stupid enough to waste their time deving on Ethereum? And like, here we are, like 3 years later, dude.
Yeah, even we're deving on Ethereum.
Yeah, the irony of that's like insane.
Yeah,
but because you're right, it's that network effect, dude. It's real. Like that's where all the devs are, all the excitement is. I don't know. It's just what's happening, dude.
Yeah. So I mean that begs the question: is like.
Yeah, like
why would you?
Comes up.
Yeah, why would you invest in any other project? Like, I think you would invest because it has some like a bigger upside, but it doesn't. It's not the upside to where this is the Ethereum killer. That's why you're investing.
Are you talking about blockchain projects?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that raises the question. This whole Polkadot thing, like, it's like the new hotness, dude. It's the new rage.
Yeah.
The new talk of the town, dude. I mean. I haven't gone too deep into it, but it's supposed to.
Yeah, you know what?
The thing I keep hearing is like parachains. Like that's a new term I'm starting to hear a lot.
Yeah, think of parachain as like a parallel chain to your existing chain, and you can communicate with other parachains on that network. So, like for example, Bitcoin could have a parachain, and then you could interact with other blockchains using that parachain.
What's on the parachain?
It's the exact same assets.
But are the transactions the same? Like if you're transacting with a Bitcoin asset on a parachain, is that like its own ledger, or is it all
it's
eventually communicated to the...
See, that's the thing that I'm not quite sure. There's some soft forks that need to happen on the existing Bitcoin network, in order to interact with Polkadot's network.
Hmm.
And it's sort of like you're giving the parachain priority over the ledger. So anything that happens on that parachain is the truth. Just like the Bitcoin network and the ledgers, it's the truth.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. See, that's interesting to me because what we're going to talk about here later, I don't know, but eventually we're going to introduce to you guys a new feature that we're working on for MetaZone. Uh, just spawned out of pure necessity, I guess. Like we're trying to dev games now, or just a game,
mm-hmm.
and we're encountering, logistical hurdles that any other game dev on the Ethereum network is encountering, as far as like high gas transactions and
Mm-hmm.
slow transactions, all this shit that like can't exist in like a proper game,
Yeah, yeah,
So we kind of like in the infant stages of trying to figure out like our own little model.
yeah.
So I don't know, like it's something we need to really, really discuss, as far as like, is like, as of now, it's like a total centralized proposal.
You know
You
what?
know what I mean?
That reminds me. So, I think you were on a roundtable that I missed because of lots of reasons, but you were there. And then on that week, we interviewed um, the guy from Liquidity Network,
Yeah,
and so we
that got
never
me
really,
thinking too.
yeah, and so we never really got to debrief on like the price hike
Price
of
hike.
mana, right? It
Oh,
almost tripled. It depending on which exchange you are, it over tripled, like
yeah, that happened
quadrupled.
like last week, right?
Yeah,
Not that long ago.
and
Feels like a
so
long ass time ago, but
you you think it'd be a good thing to have mana go up that much, but it's sort of like bittersweet. It's sort of good, but it's also equivalently bad
yeah.
because it so first we have gas fees, right? It's like $45 for a single transaction at least on average, and then on top of that, all of a sudden everything is like 4 times more expensive than it was last week or the week
Mhm.
before. So
Yeah, well, in our case, it's really concerning because in our marketplace, like, yeah, every creation is essentially tripled in cost to like a
yeah,
regular consumer, right? Or a landowner all of a sudden. And when we say cost, like the mana cost hasn't changed at all, but
yeah,
like the fiat valuation, which everybody is ultimately, that's what it boils down to whenever
right,
you're buying anything, even in crypto land.
yeah,
Like you could be transacting with crypto, but you're always going to do that mental calculation. Like, okay, I'm spending 10,000 mana here. Now let me figure out how many dollars I'm blowing on this
yeah.
piece of land or this meta, this name, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, 10,000 mana used to be like 300 or 400 bucks, but now it's like $1,000.
Yeah. Now, almost every creation on MetaZone is probably like out of everyone's, perceived budget or price
Yeah,
range, right? Because that fiat calculation is just tripled. And like, I mean, yeah, meadows are cool and all, and it's like it's still just as valuable to a landowner in a sense that it's a creation that they otherwise couldn't create on their own, something they could deploy on their land and
yeah,
it
but from a
potentially monetize.
business standpoint, that's where it becomes the struggle.
Yeah,
It's like, why if you're in the crypto industry, you want to do everything in cryptocurrencies, and yeah, we got these stable coins, USDC, we got DAI, and then the scarier version of USDC is USDT, right, from Tether. But you got these stable coins, and let's say you convert. Let's say in this bull market, you sell at the top, right, at $200,000 Bitcoin. You sell for DAI or USDC. The it's pegged to the dollar, which is continuously getting devalued. So it's the same thing as converting it to fiat. So if the dollar ends up like deteriorating in terms of value, that deterioration propagates to USDC and USDT and all those.
mm.
So it's like, then what's the point?
Hmm.
You know? So in this bear economy that we're experiencing, it's better to keep your money in assets, right? Like a Meta or a house.
Yeah, but we're not in a bearish sentiment anymore, like as far as crypto goes.
Well, no. As far as crypto goes, no, that's not bearish. But what I'm talking about is
Yeah,
like the bearish sentiment of fiat currency.
yeah.
Everybody's printing money. All the countries are
Yeah,
printing
there's
money.
definitely some bearish sentiment building. I don't know if you saw this, but today Warren Buffett just
Yeah,
made like a huge gold investment,
yeah. So,
like a massive gold investment.
what are your thoughts on that? Like,
Well, to me, it's like, I mean, I saw that coming a mile away.
yeah, for
I've
sure.
been buying and advocating for gold for years, but
Yeah,
when someone like him does it, and not just the fact that he's ditching his bank stocks, he's buying gold. He's basically doing everything like somebody would do in preparation for like an economic downturn. You know,
yeah.
like that's pretty scary. This isn't just some guy willy nilly off the street. Like this is the number one investor in the world. You know,
Oh yeah,
the
that's a
safest.
signal for sure.
Yeah,
Whatever move he makes, it's a damn good signal.
yeah. For me, my whole it just supports my doom and gloom hypotheses or thesis, whatever you want to call it. Like it's definitely coming. If he sees something coming to where he needs to like you know
Shift
yeah,
some
exactly,
portions.
start hedging
Yeah,
for in preparation for an economic downturn, then I mean it is what it is, man. Like I don't know, you gotta take that calculation and do with it what you want.
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Crypto, I don't know, man. Like I guess we're gonna have to wait and see what that means for crypto.
So
I'm already seeing people saying like this is good. This means like Bitcoin all of a sudden has more value because if gold is
well,
becoming
okay. So the reason why Bitcoin, I mean, there's a there's a component of why Bitcoin's going up and why gold is going up, why stocks are going up, is because there's more dollars in circulation. So it just takes more money to buy those stocks or that Bitcoin. It just takes more money. It's not that the value of Bitcoin increased inherently or the value of Apple stock increased overnight. Like that's not what's happening. It takes more dollars to buy the exact same stock.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking that his shift to gold is not because gold is like all of a sudden more valuable. It is because there's less value in holding dollars or any fiat currency. So I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring this up is because so we're dealing with like this conceptual strategy for MetaZone, in that should we peg everything into a fiat equivalent or a stable coin equivalent, or should we keep things in like a mana price where there's a chance that nobody's going to buy metas anymore because they're just too expensive from a fiat perspective or a stablecoin perspective. It's like, what's the best route to take from a business standpoint?
Yeah.
And this is a really really big question, because if we don't get sales, no development happens, and
That's
if no
right.
development happens, MetaZone stops. Right, it takes a pause.
Yeah, like
And
MetaZone saw like a huge increase in creator activity, probably like for the last, I'd say 2 to 3 months. Like in the beginning, there was hardly any.
mm-hmm.
Kind of like Corv had to like kind of tantalize the audience out there a little bit. With his games, I think
So
he created 4 of them.
we should talk about your explanation on Steam and how that applies to what we're doing with MetaZone, and Oscar
Uh,
being the first party
yeah,
game developer.
yeah. That's why it's kind of like we've identified ourselves as like the Steam potentially.
Well, at
as
least transitioning towards something bigger.
I mean, we're definitely like the Steam for Decentraland at the moment. I mean, we call ourselves the App Store of Decentraland. These metas are considered apps, but really we're a distribution platform for game assets or metaverse assets currently. So we're getting the distribution part down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're thinking there's probably a sector or there's an opening there for not just metaverse assets, but any blockchain game has assets within it that are potentially revenue generating assets. I see them all the time on Twitter. Like a new game will come out and there's like a fucking Zeppelin. It's part of their game, like where somebody can own that and like charge transaction fees for. It's like a transportation system within the game.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you're going to use it in the game, you got to pay I don't know, let's say 50 cents every time you want to go from location A to location B. So that means somebody could purchase that NFT, which is the ownership representation of that little transportation vehicle, and they could get a cut or maybe the whole thing for each transaction. So in my mind, that's a meta, or it can be a meta. So that can be 100% categorized, as a revenue generating meta on the MetaZone platform, and we can distribute, the ownership tokens and whatever needs to be for managing an asset like that.
Yeah.
We could be the platform for any blockchain game to do that in the future, and that's kind of like the direction we want to head towards. And so it feels like we're heading towards this like Steam version, where Steam started out as a distribution system for like PC games,
but
downloadable
the question
content.
is,
basically,
how did it start out? And I'm trying to lead you into the conversation we had earlier.
It started before Steam was Valve,
exactly,
and they were a game company essentially. Gavin Newell, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm.
Him and like another homeboy, they were both like Microsoft engineers. They're like, fuck this, dude, let's go start our own game company.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. I think they made Half-Life
first.
Right. Yeah. And then, but they were like pioneers, right? Like PC gaming wasn't like the shit like it is today.
Yeah.
And just like every other project, like including today, marketing is a motherfucker, dude. It is a bitch of a thing to do. It's hard to get people to buy or to notice you and like come and download your game and play. And, So what they figured out is we need to build a platform.
That's right.
To distribute these games and to like onboard more developers onto this platform to also build games.
Yeah.
And to like build this huge platform where
to distribute games
to distribute games, and it's like a big marketing platform, right? Like if you're a game developer, you want your game on this platform because
that's where all the eyeballs are.
Exactly. Like people aren't looking for your Frog Jumper 2 like .com. Like people are looking, they want to go to Steam and see you on the list of like new releases, right? It's like way easier that way.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're like, potentially we could service that same, need in the blockchain space, because currently all these games that we're seeing, like it's like they're in that early 2000 phase. Like they're all they have their own website. They all launched their token crowd sales, NFT crowd sales on their website.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's a marketing hurdle, the same ones that like these early PC games faced, right? There's no real platform to unite them all and to bring all the eyeballs together.
That's right.
So
yeah, it's
like what we're thinking about.
If you go look at any NFT game, you have to go and like Google and find their website and then see how to onboard in that game and like.
Dude, we were doing that like the other night. Like we were just doing like random
research.
And like just looking at blockchain games, and we found one. What was it called? War something. It's basically like fucking sand dune buggies with like big ass 50 cal machine guns on the back of them.
Yeah.
And that's basically like you could own either like a vehicle or a machine gun. Like these are the NFTs in that game basically. And it's just like an open world where you drive around in the desert. But apparently there's like cryptocurrencies in the ground.
Yeah.
Something called benzene tokens.
Yeah.
Like that's I mean, it sounds cool as fuck, but I never would have heard of that.
Yeah.
Unless we just like stupidly stumble onto it,
Yeah. Like some blogger talking about NFT games and like they're reviewing. Yeah. So the point here is just like Steam created this platform for distribution of games, and Steam had Valve to showcase like a really innovative game, right, in Half-Life. We have Corv like really showcasing what devs could do in Decentraland.
Yeah. I think he did. And that's why we saw that creator explosion, I think. Because then people started publishing articles about, hey, somebody made 1 million mana selling their fucking games on this MetaZone platform. And then I think people read that. They're like, what? Like, I wanted to try.
Yeah.
Not many people made games because it's not easy to make a game.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, you gotta have like back end development and then front end and then
exactly.
Like 3D models and
there's like a handful of people literally in Decentraland.
Yeah, literally games. A handful. Like less than 5, maybe less than like 6 or 7.
Yeah, it's not many. And there's a reason for that. I mean, there's plenty of people you know, with the Blender chops, they can build 3D scenes and
Yeah,
stuff, right?
for
Like,
sure.
and which is fine. Like we need that too. And those people at some point were thriving on MetaZone too, but because of the economic conditions we're in now, like that stuff is becoming less viable, you know?
Yeah.
Like so but
Um,
so
and so Corv is showcasing his flexing his ability to make games, and so now we're making Corona zombies, and of course we're helping with Ethermon, and then the announcement from WonderZone that they're going to be
that's right.
building their own meta, a meteor strike meta, where you deploy this onto your land, and every now and then a meteor would hit for anyone to mine. And
Which is
so,
cool as fuck.
hell yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's dude. Just the game. It's the game
Essentially you
idea is
become,
cool.
yeah, like what I said when we first started this podcast, like, oh man, like too bad Decentraland didn't like build these natural resources into their
Yeah,
parcels, right? Well, now it's coming in the form of these meteors.
yeah, from the sky. Yeah,
Now, if you're a landowner and if you deploy this meteor drop zone, now you have a reason for people to come to your land. Who I don't know how they're going to work out the split, but I'm assuming every time somebody mines one of these meteors, the
yeah.
landowner's
The
going to have to get a
landowner should
split.
get a cut.
Yeah, because that's how all of our metas operate, right? The whole
Yeah,
point is everyone in that little ecosystem is benefiting,
yeah, for
right?
sure.
Or else it doesn't work. So
Yeah, yeah. So we still gotta figure out what the details are for that. But nonetheless, like we're starting to see people thinking sort of like how we think about how Decentraland is going to be like this flourishing like world of like different activities to do. Right now you have a digital pet to take care of, and then you have a meteor to mine, and then you have zombies to kill. Like what's next?
mm. Yeah. So the whole idea of like we have, man, like tons of things we could talk about, but it's like not fully fleshed out ideas yet, like what we want to do.
Well,
MetaZone.
so let's
I
let's talk through like so of course we get the questions like when NFT pretty much
Yeah.
on a daily basis.
Yeah. It's kind
And
of like, yeah, like we don't want to like start announcing all these new things. I mean, we could talk about it, but
well,
it's
here's
not
the
like,
thing. I was explaining this earlier on Discord.
mm-hmm.
So NFTs for MetaZone sounds like a simple idea because there's like 10 platforms, right? Mintbase. I mean, there's like all these platforms you could just mint NFTs. And again, they're just JPEGs and PNGs, and
Yeah.
they're being stored on a server somewhere, whether it's Arweave or IPFS or your server in your basement, right? Those pictures are stored somewhere, and the NFT is calling those pictures. So there's nothing to it, right? There's nothing else to these NFTs, nothing else, literally nothing else. And so these NFTs, they have some functionality to it, right? They have payment splits. Then, so from MetaZone's perspective, you have to mint them based on the creator, just like all these other platforms. And then there's this. Then you're minting an X amount of your creation, right? From Ethermon to a house, whatever it is, you're minting an X amount. And then for every 10 purchases or so, or 5 purchases, whatever the creator sets, the amount increases, right? So what's the big deal about that? Well, that has to go into the smart contract. If you don't code that correctly, that smart contract is dead. Like all that time was wasted, and then you got to develop a new smart contract and redeploy that, and then switch all the pointers within MetaZone to the new smart contract. It's a pain in the ass, and especially it's a pain in the ass if you're distributing NFTs based on that smart contract. Then you got to redistribute new NFTs. So there's so many moving parts into what MetaZone is doing in terms of releasing NFTs that it's just not simple. It's just not simple, especially with limited resources, with limited
Yeah.
human resources at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's also something we're working on,
Yeah.
trying to extend our runway capacity, essentially, you know, to keep this ball moving,
It's funny. The price goes up. It seems like it's a good thing, but in real time, you got to pay bills in real time, and
Yeah.
so a price spike Doesn't do anybody any good, really.
No, but it's I guess good in the overall sense. Like,
I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of good things from this price spike.
yeah, it's literally killed every other market within Decentraland currently.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's some kind of like equilibrium phase we have to go through. Like, this is what people like Frankie and stuff say on the roundtables. Like, because like me, I'm trying to sell a piece of land, and I've been trying to sell it since before the price rose. So I had it, let's say, at like 10,000
Yeah.
mana when mana was around 4 cents a pop or something. Now it's hovering around 10 cents. So I'm thinking I gotta lower the price, right? Like, to kind of like establish some kind of equilibrium to
Yeah.
where I was originally asking for it. But people are saying, I guess it's gonna be a phase where you don't have to do that. Like, I guess like the increased price of mana should bring in like new audience, new eyeballs
Yeah,
into
it's
the
like
economy.
the stable price or the equilibrium price is the new 10 cent mana.
Yeah, so it's like they're not gonna know what it's like when mana was 4 cents. You
Yeah.
know, like they're not
Like,
gonna have that.
oh, if I would have came a month earlier, I could have gotten this for $400 instead of $1,000.
Yeah, so it's kind of like they'll just be used to the idea. All of a sudden, this land is worth uh, what's 10,000 mana, $1,000
A thousand
instead
bucks,
of
yeah.
$400.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just gotta let them like refamiliarize themselves or acclimate, I guess, to these new market conditions, right? And then,
Well, I mean,
so I
we're
don't know if
testing
that's
this
true or
in real
not.
time. I mean, we're testing this in real time. Right
Exactly.
now, we
Well,
haven't
right
really changed
now,
any prices in MetaZone. What are we going to see more sales or less sales?
well,
Like,
so far we've seen like pretty much dead
yeah,
zero.
nothing.
You know, before this price rise, like MetaZone was healthily selling metas. You know,
Yeah,
like it, you know, it wasn't like booming. I wouldn't classify it as like the next fucking
yeah.
like,
Gold Rush.
yeah, or anything like that. But things were operating fine, like to the point where we weren't like thinking about stuff like that. You
Yeah,
know, like the overall economic conditions of like where we are, the space we're in.
yeah,
But now we're facing this whole new conundrum, and then yeah, on top of it are these insane gas prices. It's just like a perfect storm of like
yeah,
unbearable market conditions for any kind of business. You know, like
yeah.
these are things like a normal business doesn't have to think about. Like, you know, every traditional business accepts dollars. Like, they don't have to worry about, you know, one day their customers are going to stop buying. Well, maybe they will in the future,
Well, they
you
will.
know.
Yeah.
But up until this point, yeah,
Yeah. Did you
like
see that article that the United States has printed more money in the last 90 days than like in the last
yeah,
century?
like the last 90 years or something like that.
Yeah.
This century's 100 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fucking wild, dude.
Yeah.
And
That is
it's
wild.
yeah. I mean, it's unlimited. Like, we could just keep doing this as long as we want, you know. But obviously, it's gonna kill everything at some point. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But yeah, what were we talking about?
I guess market conditions and like MetaZone and
Yeah, like
Valve.
yeah, we're trying to extend our runway because obviously we want to keep working on MetaZone. But yeah, like we have real life shit we have to consider,
Yeah.
you know. So we have to have these conversations like, how long can we sustain if these market conditions don't improve, like these, because right now we're 100% self-funded, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty much like full-time operation, especially for Oscar.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he's like thinking about that all the time. He's like, how long can this sustain, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
So
so we'll see.
on the switch to App Store for Decentraland to like Steam for blockchain games. So I mean to make that transition is quite heavy. But if you think about it, like developing Corona Zombies is setting the framework for understanding what a game developer, just like Corv and you know thousands of other game developers out there, what they have to face in order to build a blockchain game. And so in some blockchain games, you have 721s, right? ERC 721s. You have 1155s. You have all these different standards for NFTs, and they all have a different purpose, right? And
Yeah.
ERC 1155 is about like bundling, several arrows in a single transaction, right? Or several shields or whatever.
Basically, it gives you the flexibility to add like a quantity, right,
A
to your
quantity
NFT.
to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like if
Like a consumable. Like, for example, one of the consumables that we have in Corona Zombies would be like a material to upgrade your weapon, right? Weapon materials.
yeah,
And so that gets consumed by your weapon if you decide to do that, and it upgrades the weapon. So those could be 1155s, and then if you collect an abundance of these materials, you can sell them on the open market as well. That's why they're 1155s. So then the other dynamic to this is that because Ethereum transactions are so expensive, right? Should we do this all off chain and allow the user, the player, to be like, okay, I enjoyed this off chain experience because there's no fees, right? And
yeah, it felt like a regular game, right?
or like a regular game, but
The only
now,
difference being you probably have to have some kind of like MetaZone wallet, keeping
yeah,
track of all of
pretty
this.
much,
Yeah, like
which
any
which
kind of
is
game you play in the
which is a
MetaZone
fancy
ecosystem.
way of saying an account.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just an off-chain wallet
yeah,
essentially.
an account,
And
right?
there's a okay an account,
Yeah,
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 like a Steam account
yeah.
essentially.
I mean, yeah, sticking with the terminology of cryptocurrency, yeah, it's an off-chain wallet. That's what it is. So
Yeah,
what's the value? Is like, okay, yeah, you got to trust us, but I mean, unless we have an incentive to like run away with your 1155 off-chain assets, then
that
you
would
don't have to worry.
instantly go to zero if word got out that like we just took away with the bag.
Yeah, of
Like
1155 off-chain assets.
yeah. But the point is, so the thing we have to figure out is like the technical
So yeah, so
like
so
realities of a system like this.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
So if we do this, and so Corv is the developer of Corona Zombies, and he's building a game for Decentraland as an NFT type game that, in this case, it's playable in Decentraland. In other cases, developers are creating their own game on the PC, and they're all NFTs, a game that you'd have to download. So the question is, by building Corona Zombies that's playable in Decentraland, what are the tools that a developer would need to make these blockchain games for any platform, whether it's Decentraland or whether it's for the PC or the Xbox or whatever, but they leverage these NFT assets? So like, what tools could we build to start building that steam for blockchain games? And so that is what we're doing, and that's really in development. Parallel development with Corona Zombies is the development of the tools for MetaZone to be that blockchain Steam platform.
Yeah.
So that's how we're thinking about things.
Yeah, and it's not just us. We actually have, I think you might have said this, like interest from other Decentraland projects that would want to use a service like this
Oh,
for their
absolutely.
games too.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure, WonderZone has told us, like, if you've been attending their beta sessions and stuff, they have a whole in-game economy already ready to go. With their Wonder tokens, with their gem materials that you're mining. They're essentially ERC 1155s.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're gonna have all the same struggles with people playing their game if by
By the economics of everything.
or the innate
Like
drawbacks of using
like
that.
if you have to upgrade your pickaxe and it costs $45 because it's an ETH transaction,
Mm-hmm.
like you're not going to upgrade your pickaxe.
Yeah.
And
So then,
so,
what's the thing that you think is going to convince the gamer that okay, the whole purpose of playing a blockchain game is like you're accruing assets, right?
well,
Like,
I think there's a compromise that, given the market conditions, that maybe a player, a gamer, an NFT gamer might have to consider is when you play Corona Zombies or the Wonder Zone, Meteor Strike, or Ethermon, even potentially, is you're collecting these pseudo NFTs that you could mint later on if you wanted to. Like if you've collected these different assets by playing the game, they're not full NFTs until you decide to mint them. And once they're minted, then you can go and trade them on the open market.
So how would that be classified? Like if you're a speculator or potential speculator for this whatever in-game asset, let's call them, I don't know, bones,
Consumables?
like
Yeah.
zombie bones.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to establish or postulate like a valuation to how much these bones are worth, how do you do that? Like considering there's like there's a
Well, so
circulation of like non NFT bones, and then there's
no,
these
so there would be
circulation.
an entire supply. So say for
Yeah,
example, the gaming community has amassed millions of these bones
because
consumables.
it's potentially infinite, right? Like
Yes, it is infinite, these
it's
consumables.
infinite. Yeah. Okay.
So so the community has amassed millions of these assets, right? And on OpenSea, you could probably find a handful of these, but still, the circulating supply is in the millions because, I mean, that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
But again, the reason I say million just to illustrate the point is that you had to do work in order to mine these bones, right? You have to kill zombies. They just don't you don't mint these out of thin air like a traditional T-shirt from Decentraland. They're not minted out of thin
It's
air arbitrarily.
yeah. It's kind of like the market will figure it out on its own. Just kind of like how the crypto market figures it. Like there's a circulating supply and a non-circulating supply to all crypto assets, right? And
That's right.
like the market just determines the value of that current asset, like I don't know, based on the circulating supply.
Yeah.
So like whatever's on OpenSea is that circulating supply. Like
Yeah, and think about it this way: like if
it
you
all depends on the demand, I guess, of that
right,
asset.
if you play
Essentially.
this out long enough, maybe we get millions of players killing zombies in Decentraland, just for the sake of argument, millions of players. So there's millions of these bones that people have collected. And you can easily find this really cheap on OpenSea to get these bones to upgrade your weapons or what have you.
Create like a
Um,
wearable or something. Yeah.
so then a new player comes into the game and says, "Okay, I can for free kill a bunch of these zombies and collect bones, or for $50 have 50,000 bones already set to upgrade my weapons."
Mm.
Like that's the decision the player's gonna have to make.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could mine 50,000 bones if you go kill zombies, or you could just pay the $50 for 50,000 and you save yourself, I don't know, 100 hours of gameplay of grinding,
Mm-hmm.
and just because somebody else did it.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
so that's really what's
That's
probably
what it
going to
boils down.
happen.
What's going to boil down to is what is the use case for the application to these bones,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's up to like the game devs to create that demand. They have to create either a compelling game experience or a compelling like end game NFT in order for these bones to have any value
That's
or
right.
like any perceived value.
That's right.
So and if it's like an extremely valuable end game, you know, NFT or some kind of achievable thing, then yeah, these bones are going to be very valuable because most likely people are going to be buying them like crazy. So there's going to be a lower supply in circulation. So they're going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So they're just susceptible to all the regular market conditions. It's just mass psychology essentially.
Yeah, that's right.
So, which is cool.
Yeah, because
But then it's all then. So then the real question then is more like security, right?
yeah.
It's like people I could like what do you anticipate the biggest criticism will be? Like, oh, this is 100% centralized, which they already say, which it is currently
Yeah,
MetaZone,
but
but
it's
we're working towards you
yeah, I
know
mean, we can't decentralize everything. Everything doesn't need to be decentralized. Only important things like the assets, and then the payment splits, like those need to be decentralized. But maybe the gameplay, maybe that doesn't need to be decentralized.
because it's like yeah, there's security risks in the sense that now we're managing everybody's game assets, just like Blizzard manages
Mm-hmm.
all the game assets you've accrued by playing World of Warcraft. And I was victims of hacks multiple times, dude. So more than likely, we're gonna have hackers attack our system and like try and steal people's,
Well,
consumables. Hold on
well,
one second.
to access your account, you still need the private key to your address. So, I mean, if let's say your game assets do disappear because of a hack, well, that's because they hacked your private key. And so, if they hacked your private key, you probably have bigger concerns than game assets, I would imagine.
Okay, so that's one barrier of protection, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's
Because
got to
it,
be other points of attack other than that.
yeah.
I'm sure there's like, they can directly attack like the database, right, and just start shifting things around.
Yeah,
Like
they
that's
could, but
possible.
then they would have to hack our private keys.
Mm.
So there's
But these aren't like crypto assets, though.
no,
Like,
they're not. But in order to move, like we designed our system to be like, okay, you can move this stuff if you have the private key to move it.
is it?
So yeah, that's it.
Okay. So there's that. I mean, I don't know, obviously, like what security flaws is going to be in it, but there's a security flaw in any centralized system. That's the whole point. That's
Yeah,
why
that's the
everyone's
point.
trying.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So there's potentially, it's like a thing we have to weigh, like the benefits of, do we
Yeah,
prefer a centralized management system for like in-game assets for the sake of like actual real gameplay,
yeah, yeah.
you know, not this like wannabe gameplay that's like impossible essentially.
Yeah,
Nobody's gonna play a game where it's like $50 to do anything.
yeah.
Fuck that, it's not happening. Or and I guess what's the other thing?
And then like we have to optimize security and the cost to secure things based on the resources that we have. So
Yeah.
if the
Well,
economy
yeah.
stops, then it's hard to it's really hard to say to focus on security, right? Or it's
Mhm.
really hard to focus on the gameplay or the quality of the assets or the 3D models. Like, things begin to suffer.
Mhm.
So
So what are things like centralized exchanges? What do they do in those events where like their customers' funds get stolen? Do they
so
reimburse them?
so what happens is typically the bigger exchanges, what they do is they have like 2% on a hot wallet. And
Oh,
and that hot wallet is what holds the funds that get stolen. And so if they have 98% of reserves, and yeah, they tend to pay back what was hacked. But it's a lot of the transactions, they're off-chain transactions. Like when you swap USDC for Bitcoin, it's just a database change.
yeah.
It's not a blockchain transaction. And then
Oh, I see.
when you take money out, if you buy Bitcoin on some exchange and you take it out, you're taking the allocated portion to your account from the exchange's account. So, like
Okay.
if you own a Bitcoin, the exchange owns 10,000 Bitcoins. The exchange sends you one of the 10,000 Bitcoins, and
Mm.
then you can move it wherever you want.
Mm. Okay. Well,
So so if you every year in January there's a proof of keys, I think started by Andreas Antonopoulos or one of those guys, where they tell everybody to take your money out of the exchanges so that the exchanges stay liquid, so that the exchanges are not like doing any funny business with everybody's money. And
yeah.
so that happens every single year.
Okay. And then what's another drawback of this centralized model? The maybe perceived potential that you don't have true ownership
Mm-hmm.
of like whatever game assets you're accruing, right? I mean, you do once you execute like a smart contract transaction, right, and like finalize it essentially and put it onto the Ethereum blockchain.
Right.
Like that's whenever it's truly yours. So, yeah, again, things we have to
See,
talk about
I
and
think there's
consider.
trade-offs. I mean, if
There are trade-offs. No, that's what I'm trying to like really break down what these trade-offs are. Because they're not obvious.
yeah, no, they're not.
you know. I mean, it's like to us, it's like there's really no other workaround. I don't think we had an interview with shit. What
Arthur?
was it? Yeah, Liquidity Network,
Yeah,
and I
Arthur Gervais.
attended the Scale conference in Decentraland. I've heard the Matic talks. I've heard all these like second layer, these side chains, whatever
Yeah.
off chain scaling solutions. I don't think any of this is really going to address the problem with NFTs and stuff like that. I don't think, you know,
Yeah.
because like
I mean,
they literally asked these questions, and like I think they're more concerned with like
the ERC20 components.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, either it's something we have to figure out as a community,
I mean, ERC20 and ERC 721s, they're essentially the same thing. It's just one can't be broken down into pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that if there's a solution for ERC20 tokens, there's a solution for 721s in terms of gas fees and all that and scaling.
I would think so too.
But
So
having said that, if you find a solution to scaling, somebody will create a game that clogs that network too. It's just a matter of time. So you're always going to have a scaling solution. And I mentioned this in the roundtable this last week, the one that you missed, where I don't know if you remember seeing those commercials either on YouTube or old school television where they talk about like IBM's servers are like 100% uptime or very close to 100% uptime, and it's scalable and you don't have to worry about your business. We'll take care of the back end and all this nonsense. And then anytime Apple sells their iPhone every single year, their website crashes because it can't scale. So we have
wow,
completely centralized models that also are not scaling.
yeah,
So how can we expect a completely decentralized network to handle scaling issues?
mm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's interesting.
think about that. Like
So it's,
how can we expect?
if what you're saying is true,
I
then
mean, you've
yeah, the
seen it.
conversation does need to be reshifted and like refocused on like what we're talking about. Like
Yeah.
what does legitimately need to be like 100% like imprinted onto the blockchain? What doesn't?
Yeah.
In order for like a healthy ecosystem to sustain.
Yeah.
Like
I
that's
mean,
a
think about
legitimate
it.
conversation.
Even some of these NFT minting platforms, they're using centralized servers to store the pictures. So then what?
Yeah.
So man,
Then what?
it's there's a lot to think about. I mean, I'm happy that we're in this like place where we can see the side of like development and like participate on that side as well as like the retail side where we're also buying coins as well, and like we're also participating in these games and we're buying wearables and all that. So
is
we
this
can
not
see both
something
sides.
is this not something that like where chain links and like oracles and stuff play a picture? Like isn't like the whole purpose for these oracles to be like mediators between like these centralized databases and these decentralized
Yeah.
databases to where I don't know, they validate like what is true or not, or I don't honestly don't know what they do, but in my mind I would I would want some type of coded, autonomous middleman or something that's like validating these off-chain assets like onto the chain
Mm-hmm.
without it actually being on the chain.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. So that is sort of what Chainlink does. It's
Yeah.
these oracles who come to a conclusion in a decentralized way about a particular piece of information.
Okay.
And so in a decentralized way, you don't have to trust any centralized entity about a price on something.
Yeah.
It's completely decentralized, and it's like a crowdsourcing information
Yeah.
submitted into a smart contract.
Yeah, basically like is there a way for us to have like all the benefits of scalability of an off-chain database with all the benefits of like true ownership of these things,
Well, I think there
you know?
is. I think if like in Corona Zombies, if you buy a weapon, it's an NFT, and you can mint it whenever you want. And the reason why it's not minted right off the bat is because we want to improve the usability, the
Yeah.
user
But
experience.
it's not truly yours, right? Because
Well, it's not truly yours
at
until you
any
mint it.
moment, huh?
It's not truly yours until you mint it.
But it's not like in your blockchain wallet, is what I'm saying. It's in your
True.
MetaZone account,
Yes.
which we have 100%. Like we could
Control.
if we wanted to, we could
Sure.
manipulate all that data and like fuck it
sure.
up. So
And in many
it's
respects,
tough.
I mean, that's a good thing, right? Because
Well, yeah, that's what makes
you can fix problems like that.
yeah, true. Yeah, this is I don't know, super
It is tough,
intense.
man. Like, what do you do? Like, if we had infinite funds, how would you design this? That's the real question.
Yeah. Because like me, from a player perspective, if I could 100% trust MetaZone and like still play all these games and like I could just do my thing, not have to worry about shit. And like I know like after like a weeks of grinding, all I had to do was like push a button on my fucking MetaZone account that says like,
mint
fucking
assets.
Mint assets. And like I know, okay. And then I don't know, an hour later after X amount of confirmations, like I check my ERC wallet.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all these MetaZone metas that I've been grinding for the week show up.
Yeah.
And it's like a flawless system, and it works every time. Like that's a home run right there as a player perspective,
Yeah, I would think so too.
But I don't know. Like I think the majority of people would be okay with that, like the normies at least. Now these diehard crypto people, they're not going to let you get away with that.
Well, then they can mint as soon as they've discovered a new weapon. Just mint it in real time right there if you wanted to. If you
wanted to do each, but then you're like killing yourself.
Yeah. If you want to pay $45 to mint all the weapons that you discovered per discovery, then go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. That's too tough.
But if we design this in a completely decentralized way, then every interaction that you do, you have to interact with the blockchain and you have to pay gas fees. Like, is that a user experience that you want to have in Decentraland? Like, I doubt it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting, man. So yeah, I guess I don't know if you want to show the new thing that's on MetaZone.
Yeah.
New thing in the works. Something I kind of like referenced at the beginning of this podcast. But it's basically what we've been talking about for like the last 30 minutes now.
Yeah, so let me share my screen.
And I apologize for all the coughing and like phlegming and shit. I don't know why I'm like extra phlegmy right
now. All right, can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So we're looking at metazone.io, and we clicked on, let me take you to the homepage. And I don't think this is live yet, so only admins can see this, but you click on Versus, and this is a name that's might change. I think Versus comes from metaverses, and so it could be just Verse. So we're thinking of calling these individual experiences that have multiple metas, like the Ethermon experience and the Corona Zombies, and then potentially Wonder Zone into their own little verse, like their own little metaverse.
Metaverse, universe, whatever the verse.
Yeah.
It's their own thing. Basically, like this is like if you're trying to be like a legitimate offering into the, currently the metaverse space, but hopefully one day into the blockchain space, you're going to have your own verse page.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Your own section in the verse. It's like essentially you have your own universe of meta offerings.
Yeah, and if you click on like this Corona Zombies, and so obviously there's going to be a lot of verses, if you will, into this
yeah, think of them as games. They're fucking games.
Yeah, they're games. Yeah.
But we're just calling them something different. I don't know if that name is going to stick or not. I like it. Yeah. I think it's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
Because they're not just games, it's something different. Like it's got there's something different going on here. Yes, eventually, like if you combine all these metas,
yeah,
together,
it's like its own metaverse.
Yeah, its own metaverse, its own experience. It's a game within the metaverse.
And so here's an example. I clicked on Corona Zombies, and here are all the metas that you'll be able to purchase as a landowner. And so you have at least one of the gameplay mechanics is survival mode for Corona Zombies. Basically, you first acquire a weapon, and once you acquire it, then you can go and kill zombies to collect materials to upgrade that weapon. And anytime you acquire that weapon, there's going to be a random roll of attributes, right? From a critical hit to accuracy and durability, as an example. And so as soon as you acquire it, an RNG function will happen, and you'll have either a really low tier weapon to a perfect weapon. And then you would have to level up the weapon and add upgrades to it, like materials and let's call it energy. But the more you upgrade, the more powerful the gun gets. So even if you have a low tier, RNG roll, a really bad RNG roll, if you put time and effort into it, you can have a really, really good gun, and you'd be able to sell that on the open market as well. But to look at all these, this is just an example that all the different metas that you'll be able to purchase and deploy as part of the gameplay. This one's like, I think, to repair a broken weapon. And then this is a teleportation meta. Oh, no, this is an armory forge. Okay, so this is the one where you can store different weapon types here.
Armory forge.
Yeah, and then so here is the bronze weapon crate. And
yeah, there's gonna be different tiers of weapon crates, obviously, right?
Yeah, so this is silver. Check that out.
It has a nice little animation to it. Very hot, very hot.
So opening gives you a random seasoned weapon NFT with stats within these ranges. So damage, durability, and critical hit from 0 to 80%, 0 to 75, and 0 to 80. And
yeah, so I guess with a higher tier box, I mean, these details aren't like 100% set in stone yet, but just to give you an idea, right?
Yeah.
Like a gold one, you can max out at a higher, all the stats higher than you would like in a silver or bronze crate.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And so if you happen to, let's say you purchase this gold weapon crate and the RNG roll gives you 100% on all these weapons, all these attributes, you're pretty lucky, first of all. And second, you have the best potential power output on that weapon. Yeah. And I say potential is because you still have to level up the weapon. All right, a level 0 perfect gun is not as good as a level 10 medium gun, right?
So if you max out the level, then for sure it's like that's it.
Yeah,
that is the mecca of weapons in this specific game environment.
Absolutely. And so, of course, there's going to be different weapon types, right? There's all these flavors of rifles, right? Flavors of machine guns and handguns and, potentially all these other different weapon types that you could spend time upgrading. And then, of course, flipping if you want.
Yeah, like durability, if you're not certain, it's like the longevity of the gun before you have to, repair it.
Right.
So like in most games, your weapons you have, you could use them, and at some point they break, so you have to repair them. Then there was critical hit, which basically means some sort of pre-calculated percentage of like every attack, there's a chance you're going to do bonus damage on that attack, essentially. Right. Usually it's double. It could be like some other number. We don't know yet. It's actually going to be, but it's got to be something noticeable, Like when you get a crit, it's like you feel it. It's like, fuck, that did a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so for every hit, there's going to be, every time you fire a weapon, there's an RNG aspect to the damage output, and that RNG is based on your critical hit value. And then, you could do as much as 2x, 3x, depending on like what weapon type it is. Like if you have a high fire rate weapon, like a automatic rifle, the critical hit value is not as high as like a handgun. So you might top out at 1.5x on a critical hit because you have more chances to hit that critical hit because it's a high fire rate. But on a handgun, if you do a random roll for like a 6 round handgun and you do an actual critical hit, you could do 3x potentially. And so because it's a low fire rate weapon. But these are all the details like to the game itself. But like the point here is you'll be able to see the different games with the different metas and assets.
Yeah, so these are the metas, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, currently there's going to be more too. And then there's also on this versus selection, you want to have like the actual like in-game consumables as well, like the ERC 1155s and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Also here, so it's kind of like you want. It's supposed to be like a display. Like if you're the game dev for Corona Zombies, which Corv is, this is his place he wants to go to display everything, to convey like the overall vision of the game, all the assets, like, you know, to the potential, in this case, landowners.
Yeah.
Like if you're a landowner, you go to the Corona Zombies versus page, and you're gonna get a full view of everything you need to know.
Exactly.
Like as far as like whether I should purchase any of these metas, and also for a player, you know. Like,
yeah, and we've sort of been thinking about this because we get a lot of questions on the Ethermon games, like, well, where's this game going? Like, do you just feed the Ethermon and like what happens after that? It's like, well,
exactly.
In our discussions, we know where the game is going, but we decided not to discuss those because once you start talking about like future stuff, then you get constant questions every single day. When this, when that, and so having tried
those
that,
questions anyways,
we
right?
get those questions anyway. So having tried that, might as well talk about the entire roadmap.
Exactly.
And this is, and we show them this is where the game is going, and that's
so
it.
that's what's interesting to me is like, I guess it's going to be, we're going to have to leave it open, I guess, to the game devs, like have that flexibility. Do they want to release these things, these metas one by one, kind of like how Ethermon is doing?
Yeah.
I think they're forced to do that because like this whole meta model is like so new, and like they're literally pioneering, like you know, distributing their game assets one by one.
Right.
They're the first to do it at this point.
That's right.
So they didn't really have another option. But I can envision a point in time where like this becomes acceptable, and like I'm hoping this is what happens. Like it becomes widely adopted by game devs for Decentraland, meaning like
yeah, for sure.
You're gonna want it. We're calling it an IMO.
Oh yeah,
they call it an initial meta offering.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of wanted to name it something else because it sounds kind of cheesy to me. But that's essentially what it is. Like it's like an ICO offering. It's like when a project is making their project public by offering tokens, so that the community can.
Yeah. So what are the implications of a initial meta offering? Is first, developers like Corv and Ethermon and WonderZone, they can raise funds to complete development of their games. And a lot of these games help landowners make money, so it's more of an incentive to buy these metas at cheaper prices. And it's no different than we see in other projects, from DeFi tokens to oracles. They all raise funds through an ICO or through a token offering of some kind.
Yeah, exactly. And you as a token purchaser, you're invested in the overall interest of that project succeeding, so that the tokens you own appreciate in value over time.
Yeah.
So the same principles apply to these metas too, or any kind of game asset, right? Like you're hoping whatever game you're investing in the early stages, let's say it's Corona Zombies, you're gonna go to this versus pages. You're gonna see either the roadmap or like all the metas. If they want to just do like a big drop of all the metas, like they have the full game already built, like all the assets ready to go and ready to be distributed. Maybe there'll be like a play bar. Like if we hit like 30% distribution, the game is ready to go live. Like we'll deploy everything, something like that. Because you have to have like a certain deployment rate in order for the game to function properly. So I guess it'll be up to the dev to.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be up to the dev because, like for Decentraland, you do have to have a certain amount of assets deployed in the world in order to play the game completely. But in other game worlds that probably don't use Decentraland, they don't have that restriction.
Well, yeah, because you control that world.
Yeah, because they control that world.
You build that world, so you could place your assets wherever you want, right?
That's right.
But in the metaverse space, you kind of gotta have to wait for like the right deployments to happen in order for the game to make sense, you know.
So ultimately, the idea is that MetaZone is gonna do the hard work and collect the eyeballs, and then collect the eyeballs, collect the developers, and then create the tools to help developers make any type of NFT game that they want, from 1155, 721s, and then if they want, manage those things off chain and to
That's
improve
right.
the user experience.
Yeah. So there's like a full blown ecosystem here that you could either choose to take part in or not take part in if you're a game dev. You know,
Yeah.
it's up to
Yeah,
whether or
because
not the market appreciates this or
the
not.
other option is make your game, build out these quote unquote metas for your game, and you
Yeah.
know, potentially find your own landowners to deploy this game,
Yeah.
and use ERC 721 smart contracts to mint these NFTs on your own.
And guess what?
And then create a website and then try to get people to go to your website and
Yeah.
do an NFT sale if you want. I
Yeah.
mean, you could do all that.
And guess what? That's what they've been doing,
That's
and
what they've been doing.
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked. None of those projects
Yeah.
have pulled through like and delivered on
Yeah,
these. Like,
there's maybe like a handful, if you want to call it that. The most successful one is CryptoKitties. I mean, what else can you think of?
CryptoKitties. I mean, that's nah. I wouldn't even put them in like a successful.
What?
It's not a. It's not a game.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it is some
they're
type
just
of game.
NFTs. I don't know.
It's some type of game, right?
It's like a fucking giant orgy is all it is, dude. It's just a giant orgy of cats,
Yeah,
dude.
you just mate them and that's it.
Yeah, they're just bone, and like that's the whole gameplay,
And then
dude.
hopefully it's an RNG, right? That you get I guess a good quality cat. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. But if you want to narrow it down to like the metaverse space, yeah, it hasn't been done yet.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
Like Chainbreakers wanted to do it. They had a really ambitious game plan. Like
They had a metaverse before MetaZone, essentially.
that's yeah. Like their vision could have come to actualization with like a fully matured MetaZone platform for them to distribute. Like they should have a versus page here.
Yeah,
They should
that's
have
right.
all of their questing zones, all of
That's
their
right.
whatever the fuck is supposed to be an NFT in their experience. It should be on here. You know, and fuck, maybe we should reach out to them and be like, "Yo, crank the engines back up, boys! Like, get on here."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But at that point, like, we have to prove it first. Fortunately, we have Ethermon, we've got Wonder Zone, we've got ourselves. Like, yeah, like we identify as this Steam currently of Decentraland, so we have to do what Steam do. Like, we have to kind of like prove.
Exactly.
We have to prove that this shit works ourselves in a little bit, in a way, by creating a game. Hopefully it sells. Hopefully the landowners participate, and hopefully the players come and they are engaged to the point where we got this
and that
proof of concept.
And that element of engagement all goes back to making money, right? You're gonna grind. You're gonna grind because you hope to flip your assets.
Yeah. That's going to be the ultimate metric at the end of the day. Like, how much money is being generated here?
Yeah.
That's the metric for everything to determine success, right? Like, and that's what's going to bring the devs.
Exactly.
The devs are going to see, like, oh shit, Corona Zombies made, I don't know, let's say let's $250,000 last year selling assets.
Yeah.
And the players collectively made $500,000 in volume just selling fucking shit on OpenSea or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, dude. It's like, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to do things like that to kind of like get people interested. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we have to be, Valve, right? Creating the first party game to showcase the functionality, the usability of a platform like this.
Yeah, and it's tough, man. It's going to be real tough for us because we only have one dev. And we have no 3D designers, nothing like that. Like, everything's going to have to be contracted, whatever we need.
Yeah. So
it's going to be, it's ambitious, obviously, but it's kind of like we have no other choice. It's just, it's what we're in right now. And that's the only strategy I see that could potentially work.
Yeah. It's the only way it's going to work. I mean, if we don't have a distribution platform, even for like the entire blockchain gaming space, the blockchain gaming space is going to be completely fragmented, and nothing's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, somebody's got to do it. I don't know. It's going to be hard to say, we're going to be successful at this, but if there's nobody trying, I just don't see NFT gaming going that far.
Yeah. And somebody's going to try for sure, yeah, we're just gonna get to crack at it, man. But
So
ultimately, this is what we're working on.
yeah, we wanted to talk about like the overall like DeFi space and what's going on with crypto and all that, but I think
How long have we been talking?
about an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, yeah, we can save that for next time.
Yeah, because man, we got so much research to do, dude.
About what, DeFi?
Yeah, because we want to
Yeah,
be able to explain it intelligently, and
yeah.
I don't know if I've
Well, that space like changes so rapidly. It's crazy. Because like a lot of it's just like straight bullshit.
yeah, it's scams,
You saw
man.
that Yam shit?
Yeah, dude.
You know how many fucking crypto YouTubers I saw shilling Yam like the day before it collapsed? Like pretty much like half of the DeFi guys, you know,
Yeah, but
like
you know what happened though, right? Like there was a smart contract flaw.
I
Hello?
don't know. Basically, it was like 100x, like not 100x, but I don't know what happened.
No, what happened was there was a smart
Explain.
contract flaw that it was going to rebase by
Rebase. There you
100x or 10x or something like that, and it did like it created like 7 non-million or octillion 7,000 octillion coins or some shit like that
go. Like by accident.
by accident
Oh
because it
my
wasn't
god.
audited.
Oh my god. Do you see that's terrifying? See, that's why we have to like be real delicate and careful with our shit
Dude,
too.
exactly. It's like, dude,
You know?
the,
Like that's the game ending like flaws, you
yeah,
know? You can't have that.
yeah, you can't.
So for those of you who are really like anticipating our NFTs to drop and stuff, you're just gonna have to keep being patient because
Yeah,
we got to
dude.
do it right, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you're right, man.
yeah. Well, we'll see. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's interesting. The DeFi space is fucking nuts. It's crazy.
yeah, and we'll
Um,
do a full episode on like all the different stuff that we've been doing research on. We just want to talk intelligently about it, and there's just a ton of content. And part of the problem is that some of the new DeFi tokens are pure scams, and
yeah, it's just people riding the wave, right? The hype
yeah,
train.
yeah,
Like it's actually insane how quick like these people organize and like
it is
figure out.
insane. It is
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
It works for a lot of them, man. It's dude, I'm seeing the exact same thing I saw in 2017. Like most of them, non-working products, big promises of like,
Yes,
I promise you in the future,
yes,
like this thing is
yes.
gonna be so hot. You know, you're gonna be able to do this, you're gonna be able to do that. It's
We
gonna
got
bridge this, it's gonna
partnerships.
bridge that. Yeah,
Yeah,
partnerships up the asshole. It's
yeah,
just like I've got fucking Zuckerberg on my
yeah,
team. Like,
yeah,
oh, just kidding, it's actually his cousin. You know, shit like
yeah.
that. It's just it's nuts. So what that tells me is we got another bubble forming.
Yeah. So
Whether or
there's
not this,
there's there's money to be made,
yeah,
and so you just
yeah. I mean,
gotta,
it's suckers money, but it's money nonetheless.
yeah,
Like
for sure.
if you understand that and you can play that angle and you can get in and out at the proper times of things, you know,
Yeah,
there's definitely money to be made. So if you're interested in making money, which I know you are,
yeah,
definitely something to be paying attention to is that DeFi space. You know?
yeah,
I'm hoping at some point, like this blockchain gaming space goes through its bubble mania phase, you know, because I don't think it's really hit the mainstream yet of like the crypto world, how crazy this is going to be.
yeah, for
Like
sure,
blockchain gaming,
for
you know?
sure. Well,
Yeah.
having said that, we got a ton of work to do ourselves, and want to thank you guys for listening and watching. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at the Block Runner and at MetaZone.io. We will be back next week with more information on this DeFi space for sure, just because we're inherently interested, and we're going to try to write those damn blog posts, dude.
About DeFi?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can try. No, we'll do. Yeah, we'll do that. And also, I think we have an interview coming up soon.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, currently we do, but these things get rescheduled sometimes. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but just expect to drop at some point in the future. Interview with Everipedia, I think,
Yeah.
which to me is very interesting because, like, if you guys have been listening to this podcast, you know I used to be EOS straight fucking zombie,
Fanboy.
dude.
Yeah.
Like I was as deep as you can get. I was literally like ready to self-sacrifice myself for that clan. Like I was that deep.
Yeah, you even went to New York to go
I
like
went
join
to
a
New York
developer
to the
group.
Yeah, like an EOS New York conference for like, because they're one of the potential block producer candidates.
Yeah.
And I just had to go check because it was like my biggest holding at the time. It was a significant holding.
Yeah.
So like, you know what? Let me do my own like in-person due diligence and like see like
Yeah.
if this thing's actually legit. I mean, if like 60 people were like in that there, like a lot of people showed up.
Yeah.
People were presenting their projects and shit. I was like, yo, this seems legit. But I mean, I'm not gonna make any judgment calls yet.
Yeah.
I mean,
3 years
apparently
later.
there's things popping on EOS, but it's I don't know. I think there was a lot of overhype. That's why I left, or I'm currently disappointed. But I mean, everything's overhyped, man. Like
It is.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, they only raised what, $4 billion.
And that's another thing. That's what adds on to the disappointment layer to a lot of people.
And then we saw their latest product, Voice, and it was just there's nothing.
Yeah, after seeing like like, I mean, Oscar built a pretty robust website that does a lot of things. I mean, it's not like a full-blown like social network or anything like that, but it's pretty complex. And I looked at Voice, I'm like, dude, I feel like just like some indie dev could have made it.
Yeah,
know?
for
like,
sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, like it doesn't seem like something some $4 billion entity comes out with.
I totally agree.
All their marketing promo does look like that. Like
yeah. It does look good. It looks good.
Yeah. The marketing promo, and like I remember they had like a big conference with like the fucking decked out stage and shit.
Yeah, we watched that live, dude.
You did. That was the same day we found Decentraland.
Yeah.
Where we watched that conference.
That's true.
But they definitely like they know how to make shit like look beautiful, but when you like actually get to the product, it's like, damn, dude, it's kind of whack.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Apparently they're coming out with something else pretty soon. Block One.
Oh, really?
Another product or project. Yeah.
Have you heard what it is? Like what it's on, or?
I've heard of it, but I forgot.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyways, we're going to talk to Everpedia, which is one of the projects building on the EOS ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I mean, I kind of just like slightly shit on EOS, but not really. So, well, I mean, that shouldn't diminish at all the work that these people are doing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you had big bags of it, so.
Yeah, it's just. So I guess the things we should talk to him about are like
experience in like developing in that space, and like how is it different than Ethereum, and you know,
because
how's it better?
Why are they operating on EOS rather than Ethereum? Don't they know like, you know, the network effect is on Ethereum, right? So what the fuck are you guys doing over there? What's so good about it? So we'll ask him about stuff. So it's pretty interesting.
All right, yeah. Stay tuned because that interview happens this week actually. So you might get actually a couple of videos this week. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, guys.
See you next week.
Peace.